Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi, and let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about yoga, and I have a special guest here, Misty, who is going to be sharing her perspective on this topic on hand. So I'm going to be here to just be in her brain, and she's just going to be spilling it all out. Thank you again for coming on my show, Misty. How are you doing?
I'm really well. Thank you, Mitzi. I'm so grateful to be on your show and with your guests today, and really appreciate this opportunity to talk about one of my passions, yoga.
Yes, I'm so interested because let's be honest, there's a big hype right now where people love getting into yoga. And what does it really mean? What does yoga supposed to really do for you?
Yeah, so what's interesting is yoga in Sanskrit, it means union. So I like to think of it as union of body, mind, and spirit. And I think yoga is for everyone. And I always tell people that because the first thing I usually hear is, I can't do yoga. And I'm like, give me an hour and we'll do some yoga together. And it's really changing the perspective on what yoga is and how you can do it. And I think people enter in it at all different levels. You can kind
Yes.
of come into it in like a fast paced practice, or where my passion lies is like the slow restorative practice, and just
Mm.
really that nourishing the body and the mind.
Yeah, that does sound really nice. I mean, I love the way that you put it, how it's like a union with your body, mind, and soul. And that's a beautiful way to put it because let's be honest, that's not what people usually think about when they think of yoga. You know what they think of are those yoga pants that are super stretchy and super comfy.
Yeah,
That is the
yeah.
first thing. But what are your thoughts on that? I mean, are you pro yoga pants for everyone as well?
I practice yoga pretty much in anything. So I think that if yoga pants are what's going to get you into a yoga class, go for it. I'm all for it. And I really think I mean, we've westernized yoga very much. It's an Eastern practice. And I think that there is just a space for people to jump in and start to experience it. Because for me, what I believe is that once you experience the practice of yoga and start to find your practice, it's really something hard to let go of, just because it does create that union of your body, mind, and spirit, and rejuvenates you. It can really give you more of that life force energy.
Yes, I know because I was doing my research on yoga when I realized I needed to start doing adding something else in my workout routine that wasn't getting me where I needed to be. I still feel very tight. I still feel like pain in certain joint areas. But one of the misconceptions that I had, and as I'm pretty sure a lot of my guests and a lot of listeners are going to have the same misperception, is that I thought it was just another form of stretching, but once I started doing more research, I realized it's more than that. I mean, what is your opinion on people who think it's just long stretching?
Mhm. Um, I just think that they've not been exposed to it. Like for me, I know when I first got into yoga, I did it. I did like lunch hour classes, hot yoga. Hot yoga was really my intro. And when you do that, there was never time to. You did a lot of the movement, the stretching, the poses, the down dogs, and learning all of the names. And then there was the shavasana at the end, or the corpse pose is what they call it. And I would never stay. I would never stay. I was like, I'm out of here. I got other things to do, too busy. This isn't. And so, like I said, my entry into yoga was about the movement and the stretch. And then tides turned and I started to get into the slower part and loved doing shavasana and saw the value in it and realized, there's something here. And that really opened a doorway for me to explore more the feminine side of yoga. So we talk about masculine and feminine energies in yoga, and the philosophies of yoga can really help sort of start to make sense of what's going on, and quiet the busy monkey mind. And there's a lot more facets to yoga, but it's really about where you start, and then when you're ready to be open to receive more of it, it's a beautiful gift.
Yes, I love that last part about receiving more of it. You really have to be in that frame of mind to position yourself to really be able to receive more because when you said earlier it's about your mind, body, and soul, just that union, connecting yourself, it does bring a certain type of, I don't know if meditation is the right word, but because it's a peace, that calmness. You know what I mean? And it truly requires that state of mind of like, I'm ready to receive this. Because, like you said, you weren't ready to receive it. You were just in a plan, in a mode, ready to go. And I don't blame
Exactly.
you because I was the same way. I was in a plan, ready to go. I was structured. But now that I'm trying to get more into it, I'm realizing like it has a lot of breath works into it. It has a lot of your mind just clearing it out and just focusing in just the position. And it really helps you center yourself, and I love that. And I'm just curious to know what made you want to dive into yoga. You could have done anything else. You could have done Pilates, you could have done baking, you could have done anything in the world, but what got you really into yoga in the first place?
Well, it started, like I said, I was doing hot yoga for a number of years, doing it on lunch and that, and then I ended up getting sick. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And so over many, many months, I couldn't really do anything. And I stopped running, doing all the things that I was doing. So my body was in a lot of inflammation. And I was like that for many months. And then finally got my diagnosis. And it was like, okay, now I need to do something. Tried to push my body again into like physical trainings and hired a trainer and doing all of this, same thing, like you said, get a plan, keep going, push. And it wasn't working. I was still sick. It was inflammation everywhere. And I went into a yoga class because I was like, there's just nothing left. I have to try something. Met this beautiful, beautiful human. I'll never forget her. And I said, I explained my illness. And she just looked at me with such love and said, Misty, if you just lay on your mat and breathe, you're doing yoga. And my first instinct was, I don't buy it, but what else do I have to, like, what do I have to lose? So I simply
Yeah.
surrendered. I just surrendered to the mat. And that brought me such a gift of I felt better than I had in months. Like it was like the quieting of my mind. My body started to feel because I let it rest. I gave it an hour of rest, and the breath work was so helpful that I knew there was a nugget. So I started to kind of pull, or like a thread, I guess, too, you could think. And I pulled the thread and I kept pulling and pulling, and I got deeper and deeper into my own practice. And I did a yoga teacher training through David Tree, and I was learning. When I was learning, I was like, oh my God, I have to share this. Like, I have to share this. It was just like this calling. And then I just left my job in law and started to pursue it and have just continued on that path ever since.
Wow, that's very interesting. I mean, I love hearing people's stories where they leave the corporate world or the hustle bustle of these 9 to 5s, and it's crazy that they rather do something so simple like yoga or coaching or just simply helping other people versus helping the corporate ladder or running up it, and just focusing on what's the next move, where's the next position, where are we going, versus just, okay, what's going on with Mitzi today? What am I needing for today? Taking that moment to reflect back on your needs is truly beautiful, because I applaud you, because I bet you it was hard. Bet you there was a lot of people that were in your ear that was like, that's ridiculous. Why would you leave this good income, good steady job? Reliability. That is what is important. You have to be an asset. You have to be all these things, but people forget you have to be you. To be anything, to do anything, you truly have to be able to be you. And to be you, you need to take that time to heal. And I truly believe that yoga is another form of healing. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would totally agree with that because it was the start of my healing journey. So I was, um, and I've always very mindful when I talk about my own healing journey. I believe in Western medicine. I think there's a place for Western medicine, but I also believe that we have a lot of inner power for ourselves to help our bodies heal. And I don't know that we realize how much stress we put on our bodies, right? The constant social media, the working, like you said, crawling up the corporate ladder, putting work first and carrying all these demands that we carry on ourselves and not taking time for ourselves. And all of that impacts our bodies. And yoga is a tool with its facets of breath work and meditation and movement of the body and somatics and really tuning into what's going on in the body to help the body reset. And it's slowing everything down so that we can notice what's happening, because sometimes we go at such a fast pace we don't even know that maybe we're having some pain, or we don't even notice that something is dysregulated in our nervous system. And by slowing down with a yoga practice, that's when you start to see it, and that's when you can start to come back into regulation. So I totally agree,
Yes.
I think it is.
Yes, I think you had some great points in there. Goodness. I'm just curious, how many forms of yoga really are there? Because I know you kept on saying reformative, hot yoga, but goodness, how many yoga types are there?
I there's I know that there's like hatha, which is hatha based is what I was trained in.
Okay.
And that's really like a blend of the masculine and feminine energies. So
Okay.
it's the movement, and then also a part of the hatha is like a restorative practice, which are the quieter practices where you hold poses for longer. There's Kundalini yoga. There's like more of the power yogas, different styles in power yoga. I think there's lots of variations on it, and all are sort of feeding from the basis of the Eastern yoga and those philosophies.
Very cool, cool. So I guess
Mhm.
I'm curious, when did you realize that this was this is where you're supposed to be? I know you said that you went to school, that you helped yourself, but I mean, were you able to help somebody else and realize, wow, I'm able to truly impact somebody else's life?
Yeah, actually, it's interesting because, like I mentioned, I worked in personal injury law, and I worked for people who had car accidents or had disabilities, and working to advocate on their behalf. And what I did do was I transitioned to yoga, and I would do like private sessions with people who had disabilities or had injury. And one of the things, like, I'll just never forget one of the first clients I had after I made this transition. I The first thing I did was I taught her the breath, because I always think breath work is so important, because we obviously all breathe, but we breathe unconsciously. And she is having a lot of pain. She'd had a concussion and she wasn't sleeping. And so I taught her a breath practice. And then I saw her the next week and she was like, oh my God, Misty, I can sleep. I can get my husband to do the breath work with me. This was amazing. And it was just really something so simple created such a change in how she was able to navigate her pain and navigate her healing, because she was finally able to sleep and let her body recover. So I think that working with people who have disabilities or have injury, it's a beautiful way to really give them a gift, to let them see how they can help themselves.
That is very true. That is nice.
Mhm.
You are able to help the people that you were still helping in law. Might as well call it law and yoga, right? To give them assistance and if they have a case or not. That's funny, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is a lot better than doing law. Most definitely, your mind is
Yeah.
probably a lot clearer and not less stress and not so stressed with the demands that
Mhm.
comes along with being a lawyer. But it's been so nice talking to you, and I'm just curious, what would you tell your younger self if you could tell them anything at all? What would you tell your
Anything at
younger
all,
self?
I would tell her to slow down and really be present of being in the moment. Like that, I
Mm.
think is what I would teach her, is like just to slow down and be present.
That
Mhm.
is interesting. I ask this a lot to a lot of my guests that I'm because I'm curious because so far every guest says something different.
Mhm.
And slow down is one that is truly something to think about because we at a young age are just rushing to become an adult because adults make it seem so much fun. But
Yeah.
then once you're an adult, you realize it was lies and betrayals. The lies continue.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
to slow down is something truly, truly beautiful. And I think if you're watching this show and you're practicing yoga, you're just trying to learn more. And I think just reminding yourself to slow down is a good one as well because it requires you to silence your mind, to silence yourself. And I usually do yoga right before bed because that truly calms my mind altogether, where I sleep like a until my babies wake me up.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
notice that when I don't do my yoga before bed, I am just razzled. I'm just irritated. My mind is all over the place, and I'm just constantly on go mode still. So I love yoga because of that, that it truly
Mhm.
does calm my mind and calms myself down. And I think it's a beautiful thing that, people are sharing with other people, and teaching other people, because this is a needed skill for sure. And to start wrapping up the show, what can be some words of wisdom that you can leave us off with?
I Well, I guess my first words of wisdom would be that everyone can do yoga. Everyone has a yoga body, right? Like to
There you
get
go.
rid of the misconception. Um, and even if it's just starting with the breath, even if you just learn to slow your breath down and connect, right? Like I'm a big proponent of hand to heart and take a few deep breaths when I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. And immediately I drop back into my body and everything starts to settle for me. So yeah.
I like that. Very good. See, there you go. Slow down, breathe, and anybody can do it. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
how your body looks or what you see, how you see yourself in the mirror, or how you feel. It's about doing what's right to create that union within ourselves, because sometimes I feel like we are constantly in battle within ourselves, that when we're ready to encounter the world, we're ready, already defenses are already up,
Mhm.
ready to feel attacked, but in reality it starts within ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing to remember that union within ourselves is very important. I'm so glad
Mhm.
this generation is starting to remind ourselves and the next generation that it's okay to focus on you. We need to have that mental health focus,
Yeah.
readjustment, perspective back on ourselves. So if anybody would like to know more about Misty, please, I have her lovely photo on my website, smiling as big as can be. I love it. I love those photos. And then her website's right under it. Just click, and it goes right to hers, and you find all the goodness that she has to offer to the world. So there you go, y'all. Be safe out there. Bye.